June 3rd, 2015 to order, please. First item on our agenda is any additions or deletions to the agenda. Councillor Sobel, do you have any?
I just have one item for correspondence and council statements here, Your Worship.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Blokeman?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, under correspondence, 2 ag items wish to bring up.
Okay.
Nothing further, Your Worship.
Councillor Graychuck, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Fuel?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
And Councillor Peterson?
I have nothing.
And I have nothing to add. And administration?
Yes, Your Worship. We need to replace item 6.1 with the revised 6.1, which is on your desks. Need you to remove page 20 of your agenda page and replace with the revised page 20.
Okay.
There is also an attachment to item 7.1, which is the actual development permit for that item. And we need to add in item 8.3, Thomas Drive scope change.
Good. Thank you.
Your Worship, I've moved to adopt the agenda as amended.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is adoption of the May 20th regular council meeting minutes.
I so move, Your Worship.
Is there any corrections? I do have one. The call to order, it said, Mary, I'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. I called it to order at 6:30. And that council move in camera at 6:30, not 6 o'clock. Any other items? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Your Worship, I'll move that we adopt the May 20th, 2015 regular council meeting minutes as amended.
Already did. Oh. Okay.
All in favor? Carried. Next item on our agenda is a bylaw, 6.1 land use bylaw amendment number 1514 revised.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Good evening. Mr.
Just for your
Proctor.
information, we've replaced the bylaw in your agenda package with a new sheet. Should be separate from your package. It's the same intent as the one included in your agenda package, but we've done some more work and some more research on the matter. The revised bylaw is new and improved and more accurate. Thank you.
Your Worship, I move the council give first reading to bylaw 15-14.
All in favor? And carried. Thank you.
Your Worship, I move that council hold a public hearing for bylaw number 15-14 on July 8th, 2015.
All in favor? And carried. Thank you. I've got so much paper here today. Next item on the business is under old business development permit number 15D055. Mr. Fisher and Mr. Proctor. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship. At the previous meeting, Council postponed consideration of development permit application 15D055 to provide adjacent landowners additional opportunity to respond and to seek information about the lane. Staff sent out a second letter to 33 property owners shown on the overhead. And we received 5 letters addressing various concerns. 4 of those landowners are shown with the black dots. on the overhead. A fifth did not identify their address. For development permits, staff were authorized to grant relaxations up to 25%. This application is before council because 4 relaxations are required, and these relaxations require council approval because they exceed 25%. As discussed in the report, these relaxations include the setback of the apartment from the front property line, setbacks from the side property line, the site width, and the density. We received concerns about 4 key areas. Firstly, there was concern about parking, including the loss of on-street parking. Secondly, there was concern about increased traffic on Lakeside Boulevard and the rear lane. Thirdly, there was concern whether or not the apartment will be for seniors. And fourth, there was a concern about granting the relaxations. We also received concerns by one party that the project will compromise property values, while another party indicated that redevelopment on the site will increase property values. In responding to the parking issue, it should be noted that the proposed development exceeds the parking requirements in the land use bylaw. No on-street parking is directly affected as there are no front driveways. All of the required off-street parking is on-site, and there is one additional stall for visitors above and beyond what's required in the bylaw. With respect to the increased traffic on Lakeside and/or the lane, we are aware that there will be some impact on traffic on Lakeside Boulevard and the lane. However, this is not an issue for the approval of this development permit. The subject property is designated R3 in the land use bylaw, and apartments are a permitted use in the land use bylaw. As such, they are allowed as of right in the R3 district. The third issue, the occupancy of the units and whether or not they're occupied by seniors or others, this is not a relevant issue to the approval of this development permit. Section 15(1) of the Constitution Act prevails, and the Senior Citizens Housing Act was revoked in Alberta in the early 1980s. We have no ability to dictate to people what age people can live in a certain building. Having said that, statistically, we would expect that there would be more children in a townhouse or a row house than in a unit in an apartment. Generally speaking, land use bylaws regulate the use of the land and buildings. With some minor exceptions, we do not regulate the users of those buildings. The fourth issue is the concern that no relaxation should be granted at all. I believe staff addressed this in the previous report, and there was also a request that if this were approved, that a 2-meter high fence be constructed along the south property line between this site and the adjacent residential site. Staff were asked to provide information on the lane in existing condition. This information was provided on page 19 and pages 37, 38, and 39 of your agenda package. The cost for the lane improvements range from $16,000 to $20,000 for improving the north-south portion of the lane directly behind the site, and between $34,000 to $40,000 for upgrading the lane in the entire block, that includes the east-west portion. It is notable that the developer has agreed to pay his share of upgrading the lane. In fact, essentially double his share of upgrading the lane. The lot is, the 3 lots are about 75 feet wide, and the lane is 20 feet. Or the lots are 20 feet wide, and the lane's 20 feet wide, so 20 times 75 is the area that the developer is prepared to contribute to the lane improvement, which is essentially double recognizing that there's also a house on the other side of the lane, but it's not a simple back lane. We've also been advised by the developer that the fourth story of the apartment building is essential for the viability of the project. Based on the discussion at the last council meeting, the apartment has been shifted northward towards Fifth Avenue by about 30 centimeters. We received revised drawings earlier today. This change increases the setback from the property line shared with the residents to the south to 7 feet. Placing the building closer to Fifth Avenue, however, risks interfering with the existing spruce trees on the boulevard, as they're going to be about, the building's going to be about 6 feet from the property line / back to sidewalk. In the event that the boulevard trees are damaged, they will be replaced at the developer's expense. The draft development permit has been amended to reflect this change along with the developer's agreement to share in the lane upgrade costs. There's also a provision that the developers construct an opaque 2-meter high fence alongside the property line for satisfaction of the development authority. These changes are reflected in Carl's release condition on the development permit, condition number 5, 4, and condition of the development permit number 9. As noted, Your Worship, this matter is before council because the approval of this permit requires granting 4 relaxations. Staff supports granting these relaxations for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, Councillor Walz?
Your worship, to the director, currently, what is our parking requirements for buildings like this as per a bylaw?
One parking stall per dwelling unit. And if there's no on-street parking available, then there's a requirement for one visitor parking stall. But they're providing the visitor parking stall on site, and there's also the on-street parking available on the corner site.
So my subsequent question would be, so there's currently 13 spots. They're providing how many street spots would be available?
I haven't done the calculation, but I would say if we have 130 feet of 130 feet of depth and 75 feet of width, and practically maybe 20 feet for the corner, and averaging 25 per stall. 25 times 4 is 100. Probably 5 and 3, 8 for sure, maybe 9. And that would be generous because most on-street parking stalls are less than 25 feet long, actually.
Councillor Sobel?
Thank you. Is there any reason why we weren't supplied with the letters from the concerned neighbors?
This is not a public hearing, Your Worship. It's a development permit matter. We've reviewed the letters. We provided the information to council that's pertinent, I think, and certainly this matter will be subject to appeal. So anyone who wishes to appeal can submit their reasons to the subdivision development board. Perhaps.
Did you have a subsequent question?
No.
No. Councillor Graychuk?
Well, in regards to that, what was the point of getting the letters? Why can't we hear them too?
Well, we could have somebody read them on, I suppose.
I want to know the concerns of the.
If I may,
Yes, please.
we did have some of the residents ask if their submissions would not be made public.
And that's fine.
Okay. Councillor Peterson? Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's some procedural restriction in allowing us to see letters from ratepayers who wish council to review.
We could read the letters out into the minutes apart from the ones that were asked to be held
That would
back.
be great. That would be fine for me.
Okay. Jen, do you want to read the letters out? Where do you have the letters?
Councillor Walls?
Your worship, while we're perhaps getting this organized, can I ask the director another question? What is the rationale with two people having to work nowadays in a household of only having one parking stall per apartment? Should that bylaw not maybe have a second look? Should we not be having a second look at that bylaw?
I would, well, I think this is an issue that's been before council a number of times. And I think a few months ago, we had a discussion that we should be reducing parking requirement for townhouses and fourplexes and stacked townhouses down to one. It's a very difficult question if you try to define what your priority is as a council. Now, I think we have very clear direction from the municipal development plan that we want to encourage and promote redevelopment in the downtown. Everything tends to be a bit of a compromise, and sometimes we never satisfy anybody in the process of doing, but I think it's appropriate and reasonable for apartments to have at least one parking stall per dwelling unit. Some developers, especially if they're building in the suburbs, will make a conscious and deliberate decision to have more than one parking stall because they recognize their market. These folks are doing what they believe is appropriate for their circumstance and it complies with the bylaw. I would certainly agree through the chair with Councillor Wall that when it comes to, and this is an average scenario. This is never going to capture 100% of the situations, but I certainly believe that for fourplexes, townhouses, things where we're going to have, on average, a higher number of people per dwelling unit, and you're typically going to have children, and people are going to have two jobs, then I think it's prudent to have at least 1.5 parking stalls per dwelling unit. But what invariably happens is that we get, there's the pushback by the neighborhood and there's the pushback by the developer. The minute you start asking for 2 parking stalls per dwelling unit in a lot of these projects, it's considered prohibitive. You just will not get the development. And it's a particular challenge for any community that is even remotely seen as if it's within the Calgary shadow or the Edmonton shadow, it's a chronic problem. It used to be a real problem in Airdrie until Airdrie grew to a size that it, people started living in Airdrie.
So apartments, it's one dwelling, one parking stall. What about townhouses? It's 1.5?
1.5, yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Are the letters ready?
Your Worship, the first letter is from Mr. and Mrs. Hazel and Kevin Woody, and it reads, Warner Fisher, as the property owners of 620 Lakeside Boulevard, the property adjoining to the south of this proposed development, we are opposed to this development for the following reasons. 1. No relaxation should be given to Land Use Bylaw 1411, as this bylaw was adopted by the town on September 17, 2014. As the development permit was not submitted until April 8, 2015, this gave the developer 7 months to follow the bylaws. As these bylaws were adopted by the town and the development office, this must be what the town believes development should be like. As they were adopted less than a year ago, it must be a current view of what development should look like in the town of Strathmore. 2. They are asking a relaxation of 32.5% for maximum allowable density. This should not be allowed as per bylaw. 3. They are asking a relaxation of 50.8% for front setback. This should not be allowed as per bylaw. They are asking a relaxation for 29% for setback to Fifth Ave. This should not be allowed as per bylaw. 5. They are asking a relaxation of 39% for setback to 620 Lakeside Boulevard. This does not include the eave overhang or the door overhang on the south side of the proposed building, which may bring the relaxation to 80 to 90%, as no measurements are included on the plan for the eave or exit door overhang. 6. Increased stress to the back lane behind this block due to an added 13 vehicles using it. This back lane is in terrible shape all the time now. From the above relaxations, it is easily seen this building does not meet many of the bylaws the town adopted. All of these relaxations have a direct impact on 620 Lakeside Boulevard. Please turn down this application and have the developer resubmit a development that more suits the size of this lot and the character of the park-like setting of Lakeside Boulevard. As the landowners of 620 Lakeside Boulevard, we are also asking the developer to provide a 2-meter high fence along the whole length of the property to protect the privacy and stop trespassing onto 620 Lakeside Boulevard. Next letter is from Norma and Rod Parody of 622 Lakeside Boulevard. And it reads, Mr. Fisher, we have received the notice development that has been planned for 604 to 606 Lakeside Boulevard. Please accept this as our formal letter of concern to that permit. We have numerous concerns regarding this 12-unit apartment building. When we purchased our home in September 2011, it was our understanding that the triplex units along Lakeside Boulevard were designated as 55+ complex. Having this apartment building in the middle of all these units would clearly upset the quiet peacefulness of these surroundings. Will this unit be designated as a seniors housing, or will this unit be set out for family/young adults? If this is for families or young adults, there will certainly be an increase in traffic, not to mention more vehicles parked on the street. Given that most young adults will likely have a vehicle, and if 2 adults are living in each unit, there will not be enough spaces for parking as you have outlined as dedicated off-street parking. And with only 1 slot for visitor parking, they too will need to park on the street. Kinsman Park offers summertime and wintertime activities, and these participants will also be parked on the street. This will cause a great deal of traffic and congestion in an already busy playground zone. This building will certainly add traffic and use of the back alley. We don't think the current condition of that road can handle any more traffic. It will definitely require an upgrade now or in the very near future. Who will cover the cost of these upgrades? The young crowd will also bring about lots of noise, potentially unruly activities, and potentially uncleanliness. This would really upset the current serene environment. A building of this size, 4 stories, in the middle of all the triplex units would disturb the visual attractiveness that welcomes residents along this main street. The beauty needs to be maintained as much as possible. That is our responsibility as members of the community. Our last concern is of the property value. Will this type of building amidst the complex bring down the value of our home? We can certainly see the likelihood of this happening. As seniors, this is our investment and cannot afford to lose that value. What is the town's objection to building another triplex or duplex unit? This would certainly provide the continuity and the beautiful facade that already exists along Lakeside Boulevard. This will certainly not cause a significant increase in traffic. In our opinion, this would be a win-win solution for both the town and the current residents of this area. We are hoping that you and the town will take all of our concerns to heart. We are fairly new to the town, but thoroughly enjoy the beautiful, peaceful surroundings that we currently reside in. As the town motto clearly proclaims, our quality of life is our way of life. Next letter is from Mr. Wayne Roberts. To whom it may concern, as property owners adjacent to the proposed development at 604 to 606 Lakeside Boulevard, we would like to express our concerns in opposition to the plan as outlined in your letter of May 21st. Our concerns lie in 4 major areas. Firstly, loss of available parking. When we bought the house at 111 Fifth Ave approximately 14 years ago, all of the properties in the area were single-family detached homes, with the exception of Shirley Lee's 2 properties, who had 2 suites she rented are out in the basements. Since that time, the area has been redeveloped with Lakeside Boulevard and Fifth Ave hosting row house condos and 4, 6, and 8 unit duplexes. This influx of residents and their accompanying vehicles has led to major parking congestion on the street in front of our house. I am mobility challenged and at times have been forced to park well down the block from my property or across the street, with the attendant difficulties that result. Even with the 12 on-site parking stalls that the proposed development has included, it is most likely that the majority of residents who move into this development will have more than 1 vehicle, which will necessitate them parking on the street and therefore further exacerbate the already difficult situation. Secondly, increased traffic and speed in the alley. Since the on-site parking proposed is off the alley, it is reasonable to assume that at least 12 more vehicles a day will be using the alley which borders our home on 2 sides. It has been our experience that traffic in these alleys has greatly increased with the addition of many multifamily units that have been completed, and that many of the residents of these units tend to overlook the law and speed in these alleys. The addition of even more traffic will likely add to this problem. Our children are all grown now, but we have 8 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild and another on the way. Our large backyard area is a perfect playground for these children, and while we wouldn't let them play in the front yard where they could go out onto the street, many times they have kicked a ball or thrown a toy over the fence and out into the alley, where increased traffic would pose an even greater danger to their health and safety when they try to retrieve it. Thirdly, increased risk of fire. As a construction safety officer, I am well aware of the provisions that have been instituted in the building code that require fire retardant sheathing to be used in new construction. But as a former firefighter with the 10 years experience, I've seen many times that fires spread to adjacent structures not through the walls but from the roof. Being a 3-story structure, much taller than the surrounding buildings, I firmly believe that there will be much greater risk from fire to all nearby structures if a fire could occur in the apartment complex. Again, because of the 12 units in the proposed development, there will be at least 12 times more risk of this happening than if a single family was living on the property. Finally, relaxation of Land Use Bylaw 1411 and attendant easements. In examining the blueprints of the proposed development, it is clear that approval would require encroachment on the easements as specified by the town on Lakeside Boulevard, 5th Ave, and 608 Lakeside Boulevard to allow the project to proceed. At some point in the near future, we are planning to redevelop our property as well, and if the town allowed relaxations on the established easements for this development, we can only expect that it would do the same for other developments in the area as the precedent has been established. We believe current easements are more sufficient and should be maintained for the good of all. We are not opposed to any development on the site in question, as it will only increase our property value, but we are opposed to the proposed development for the reasons outlined above. As ratepayers in this community, we would therefore request the town decline to issue a development permit for the proposed apartment building. Our thanks for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Wayne and Heather Roberts. And lastly, from Adrian Gilmore, this just says, I simply object to the development of the 12-unit apartment building. There is not adequate parking available.
Councillor Walz?
Your worship, to the director, how does this 4-story apartment fit in the neighborhood?
Well, I think as I mentioned at the last council meeting, it will certainly be much taller than any other buildings in the area. It will stick out, however, it is in the downtown. And we, what's the alternative? We say that all the buildings in this area have to be 22, 23 feet high because that's what's existing. This area has been zoned, we looked at this earlier, part of this area was zoned commercial until sometime in the late 90s, and then it reverted to an R3 zoning more recently. So it's been R3 for
Since 1995.
The height doesn't exceed the maximum allowable height in the bylaw, and it's a permitted use.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Director. I just want to say that living in downtown South, I've become accustomed to living in proximity to behemoths all around us. And it was disconcerting at first. As the years ensued and we watched our downtown, I've lived in town for more than 3 decades, and watched the decimation of our downtown over the years as it moved further and further east to the detriment of the downtown. For us, that was far more disturbing than having density come into our neighborhood. And as density has come in over the last decades, we've also seen accompanying development in the downtown. We have seen incremental improvements. And the only way that we're going to see those incremental improvements for the people who currently live in our downtown is to increase density. And we know that that's never easy. I know it personally from living that reality. But people who live and walk in the downtown, or the more people who will live and walk in the downtown, the better chance we have of developing grocery store presence and drawing other amenities into that community that will hopefully make this living in the downtown comfortable and increasingly desirable. And so I think that we changed our land use for this express reason, and we hired you to make the decisions that needed to be made. And I'm very, very grateful. My concern as a close neighbor, my concern was the lane and the shape that it was in, and to see that for a relatively small amount of money, we can mitigate the issues around that. With regards to that, I'm assuming you're going to use some form of tarmac?
I'm leaving that to our,
Right.
leaving that to our engineering.
I will
director.
too.
I fully expect that will have proper base installed and that would improve it right off the bat. But, I mean, one of the alternatives that we looked at very early on is, yeah, put a triplex on it, put continuous front driveways along it and get rid of all the on-street parking and keep it in character.
Yeah.
It hasn't achieved our objective.
And when, on the setback on the north side, the spruce trees look maybe a little fragile. But I was, so in having said that, I was grateful to hear you say that replacement could happen. And that,
The spruce trees are definitely a mixed bag, and
Yeah.
here's why. They have shallow roots and
Yeah.
they destroyed the sidewalk.
Yeah.
With the building coming closer now, there is certainly the risk that, the disturbance of those roots will eventually kill the tree, so then we would put in a proper deciduous boulevard tree, and hopefully they're gonna have to rebuild the sidewalk. It's always a very sensitive thing to do because the tree's been there a very long time.
Yeah.
People can get quite attached. So
thank you, Director. I'm prepared to make a motion, Your Worship.
Councilor Graychuk has a question or two, I think, first.
Does the overhang meet, thank you, Your Worship, does the overhang meet the setback requirements?
which overhang are we talking about?
The one that was in the letter here, that was,
Well, there's a concern that not only is the building 7 feet from the property line, as it is now proposed, but there's going to be a projection beyond the building. Every bylaw in Alberta that I've ever read will allow projections into a side yard for eaves, for window wells, for bay windows, for that sort of thing. So yes, there is an additional projection into that yard because of the, on the south side, due to the eaves, and there's also a landing and a doorway, but that's strictly an exit doorway, and it projects another 4 feet into that side yard. So there'll be about 3 feet between the landing and the property line on the south side of that building.
thank you. And Mr. Administration, whether council approves or disapproves this, either party is allowed to go to to appeal, right? After this, yeah, thank you.
On your question, if you, I forgot my pointer, but if you look at the top of the drawing, the northeast corner of the building, there's an entrance to the building right there, and there's a small roof overhang above. It just covers the lane. And of course, there's also, you can see the outline of the eaves on the building as well. But the only place you don't allow that is in a commercial district like the downtown, where you're already at 0 property line.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Blokeland?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the director, could you, or have you got any comments on some of the issues raised in those letters?
Well, I think I've tried to address all of them, perhaps briefly. Yes, there will be additional traffic on Lakeside Boulevard. There will be additional traffic on Lakeside Boulevard, whether this project is approved or not. It's a key entrance to the downtown, and we expect redevelopment of downtown. We expect more traffic on the lanes. Again, whether or not this project is built or not, as the surrounding area develops, they have agreed to share more than, they've agreed to roughly 20 feet by 70 feet of pavement plus the boulevard, which takes it up to whatever that boulevard width is, about 6 or 7 feet. It meets the parking requirements of the bylaw. It meets the height requirements. Where it's deficient are the side yards. But I think, as I said at the last meeting, we will not get redevelopment in the downtown. We tenaciously cling to the old front setback of 6 meters. In the past, we have not done so. So I think that's clearly a defect in the bylaw. The only unfortunate thing is that at the time this bylaw was adopted, the side yard requirement was 1 meter, was 3.3 feet, and they're providing 7 feet. So we've changed it in the interim, but we're almost looking at the, it's virtually a grandfather situation. And as far as the setback from Fifth Avenue is concerned, I think that's entirely a town concern. It's our, there's no development across the street. As I said, there is no longer, under the legislation, any designation of seniors housing. It's all market housing. The government may get into a contract with a provider of housing, but, you know, the Senior Citizens Housing Act was revoked in 1990, and we also have a little issue with the Alberta Constitution. We try to tell people what age they have to be to live there. We believe that we would not be recommending approval of this project if we believe that the relaxations will unduly affect the amenities of the neighborhood of the youth and enjoyment of neighborhood properties under the test. And so, I'm not sure what else there is to say.
Thanks, Werner. And I just made some notes here this afternoon, so I didn't know that till tonight, but it's been an R3 since 1995.
And
So,
prior to that, it was part of downtown C1.
okay. So under R3, we are at a permitted land use on this.
Absolutely.
I'm just making sure I'm right on this.
Yes.
Under the land use bylaw, we quite simply are not breaking or changing the bylaw.
Well, we are granting 3 variances.
There's conditions / variances and relaxations taking place, right? Which are allowed within the land use bylaw?
Yeah.
Exactly. And the back alley is a town road, is it not, right?
Absolutely.
And it's great to hear the developer will collaborate with bringing it up to satisfactory levels. Thank you, Werner.
Nothing further? Councillor Peterson? Would you like to?
Thank you, Worship. I would move the council approve development permit application 15D-055 with conditions as stated in the attached draft development permit.
Councillor Walsh?
Your worship, I just want to note on the record that I will not be supporting this because I do not believe that one parking stall is adequate per dwelling, even though the bylaw states that. I look at my little complex, there's 4 houses there and there's 12 vehicles. So to me, one parking stall is simply not sufficient, even with street parking. So therefore, I will not be supporting this motion.
Councillor Peterson?
I respect Councillor Wall's concern. I think that we need to increase the town density in order to keep it viable. And while I understand that can be a challenge for people in the community, I see it work in my own neighborhood. It has led to increased walkability, but Strathmore has become a very walkable town. And I think that as a priority, density is the most important thing. And for that reason, I will support the motion. And I certainly know that change is difficult. And the people who talked about serenity in that neighborhood, you know, serenity is a relative term. We live next door to a near 1,000 population school of K to 12 children. And so some people would not see that as being very serene. I've been a teacher for 3.5 decades, so it's good for me. But I think that it's one of those things where we will grow to the community that we're becoming.
Councillor Fuel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mine's just a comment as well. Having been to a downtown revitalization conference and seeing that increased residents is the only way to save a downtown, and that retail will typically follow this. I think the struggles we're facing here is this is the first of its kind in this area, and I agree that there are going to be problems, but we do need to increase the density, even just as far as stopping urban or stopping sprawl into rural areas and to managing the town space that we have for properties. At some point, we have to increase density beyond what we've been doing. And unfortunately, I understand that people are upset and that there's some worries about this, but this is the first of other things that are coming. And it's one of the things that may have to be done.
Seeing no further discussion? Oh, Deputy Mayor Loveland?
Just one more thing. Thank you, Your Worship. Let's not forget the Downtown Overlay District does support such development and redevelopment in the downtown area.
No further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Mayor's censure. Councillor Sobel, are you going to be addressing that?
I would like to, Your Worship, I have a motion to make, but prior to making that motion, I would just comment that I wish to be very clear about the fact that I'm disappointed this issue is once again in the public forum. It was with considerable reluctance that I agreed to pursue the censure of Mayor Michael L. on October 28, 2014. Given the circumstances, I felt I had no alternative but to support the censure and continue to support that decision. However, I sincerely anticipated and hoped that this matter could be resolved in a professional and constructive manner long before now. In fact, I even sent correspondence to the mayor on March 25th of this year, once again confirming that I was prepared to work with him in trying to resolve this issue, but also making it very clear that because of the very circumstances of this issue, it must be him that begins the resolution process. I have seen no effort on Mayor L's part to try and resolve this matter. And in fact, the only action that I have seen him take in this regard is his recent hiring of a lawyer. I continue to be concerned about issues that pertain to the mayor's communications with town administration, and as a result, I move the following. Whereas on October 28, 2014, Strathmore Town Council censured Mayor Michael L. for committing a series of breaches of the Town of Strathmore Mayor and Councillor Code of Ethics and Conduct Policy and the statutory obligations of councillors and council as set out in the Municipal Government Act, Revised Statutes of Alberta 2000, Chapter M26, with respect to A, communications with town administration and staff, and B, councillor involvement in the town's administrative functions. And whereas efforts to resolve these issues have been unsuccessful, and there appears to be no reasonable likelihood that this matter will be resolved, it is therefore moved that the Minister of Municipal Affairs be requested to conduct an inquiry into the conduct of Mayor Michael L. pursuant to Section 572, Sub 1, Sub 2, Sub B of the Municipal Government Act.
Thank you. I have considered the motion and believe that the mandate to be given to municipal affairs should not be limited to my actions alone. I believe it is in the best interests of the town for municipal affairs to be given instructions to conduct an independent investigation into the circumstances leading up to the censure motion, including but not limited to my actions. This is the best way for the matter to be fully investigated without limitation. I therefore wish to temporarily vacate as chair in order to put forward a motion to amend the current motion so that it reads that it is moved for the town to request municipal affairs to conduct an independent investigation into the circumstances leading up to the censure motion, including but not limited to the actions of Mayor L. And if Municipal Clerk Swatsky would note, I am vacating the chair, and the chair is being assumed by the Deputy Mayor. And I will ask the Deputy Mayor if I may make a motion to amend.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is council okay with this? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. My motion will be is that the town request municipal affairs to conduct an independent investigation into the circumstances leading up to the censure motion, including but not limited to the actions of Mayor L. And if I might, I will just speak what I've already said. I believe it's in the best interests of the town for municipal affairs to be given the instructions to conduct an independent investigation into the circumstances leading up to the censure motion. And that is the best way for the matter to be fully investigated without limitation. Thank you.
Deputy,
Go ahead, Councillor Graychuk.
my question would be to Councillor Sobel. How do you interpret, is there much different than the motion that you made?
Well, it just doesn't sound like an amendment to me, but But I'm willing to accept it as an amendment and deal with it as an amendment. I'm not trying to handcuff anybody here, but this is not my idea of an amendment to my motion.
I'd like to hear other councilors' opinions, because I'm not sure myself.
Thank you, Councillor Graychuck. Can you expand on that motion, Your Worship? I'm not sure I understand part of that.
Expanding on it in the fact that I'm just asking in municipal affairs to conduct a full investigation.
Well, I believe that's what we were doing with this motion, weren't we?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's, I'm trying to sort this out.
There is a difference,
There is a difference?
yeah, where you're only investigating the mayor, the motion that was put on by Councillor Sobel is to investigate the mayor, and I'm asking that all circumstances be investigated.
If I may,
Go ahead, Councillor Sobel.
I think I can resolve this. Your Worship, if you were able to amend my motion, then it would be an amendment to the motion. So if you wish to add words such as instead of into the conduct of Mayor L, and say, and I'm just suggesting, and other staff members or anything, then it becomes an amendment to my motion. But you can't, I don't think you can make a new amendment, a new motion at this time.
I agree.
Councillor Fuel.
Thank you, your deputy mayorship. I think if we're going to look at this proposed amendment to the motion, we need to break it down so that it's simple for everybody and so that we all understand it and the public knows, and that we want to be transparent. So I think the original motion that's been brought forward by Councillor Sobel had to do with things that were felt inappropriately done by the mayor, and this came out in late October. And now the change to the original motion, or the proposed addition to the motion, would shift the investigation from just an investigation into what the mayor may have done inappropriately and why we originally voted in favor of the censure, to one where we're all being looked into. I have no problems. I have nothing to hide, but I do resent the fact that suddenly we moved from some inappropriate actions that were allegedly done and voted on by a council regarding censure, to nothing being done to correct or address the situation, to now, in addition to the amendment or to the motion, where we're all going to be investigated by the municipal affairs section. I find that really strange when we presented this publicly and we presented things to his worship as to what was being done, and nothing was done to change it or address it or fix it as far as we could see. And now the investigation is supposed to look into all of us. I find that very interesting and very telling. Very bothersome to me. And it changes, yeah, it definitely changes the intent of what we have been doing all since October.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Peterson?
I just want to reiterate Councillor Fuel's comments that it doesn't fit as an amendment because it changes the context and it changes the meaning. And at no time did the two separate legal counsels indicate wrongdoing by other councillors. And no staff members brought forward charges or complaints about other councillors. And indeed, in the 7 months since this occurred, Mayor L didn't bring forward accusations against council in any way, or enter into any discussion about such things. So to me, this amendment is out of order because it does not, it changes the intent of the original motion.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Can I question administration if, in fact, this thing is out of order?
I think that's the chair's decision. If I may, Deputy Mayor, as I now am clear on the whole thing, I truly believe that it is a, changing the intent of the original motion. There's no question about it. Once I run it through my mind.
All of council has struggled with this for 7 months now, and obviously we're not getting anywhere. Some councilors have tried to reach out through to the mayor in efforts to resolve this, unfortunately unsuccessful. Upon moving forward with this motion, with the original motion, resolution will happen, hopefully in everyone's favor. These are extremely tough decisions we are trying to make here as a council. And I would have to agree, if it's my call, I'll rule that amended motion out of order. So now we're back to the original motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta keep him back to chair.
Give back to chair. Okay. Your worship, your chair is back to you.
Municipal clerk, show the deputy mayor has vacated the chair and the mayor has assumed the chair. Okay, there's an original motion on the floor, and Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. On November the 7th of 2014, following the censure of Mayor Al, the mayor was quoted in the Strathmore Times as having stated the following: "If there are misunderstandings or misinterpretations, we need to work together to clear them up." He further stated, "I want to resolve this and move forward." We are now 7 months into the censure, and for the record, I want to state that from the very first meeting where Mayor Al was confronted with his breaches of the MGA and Council's Code of Ethics, and with legal opinions from 2 law firms outlining the seriousness of the breaches, my 4 fellow councillors, excepting Mayor Graychuk, or Councillor Graychuk, who was not here, urged Mayor Al to seek resolution. On several occasions, I confronted Mayor Al about the need to resolve the issues that led to the censure, as well as other issues. Initially, all council believed that he would do as he said and move to remediate the problems that he had caused through, in his own words, misunderstandings and misinterpretations. 7 months later, the original issues have not been resolved. The only attempt to seek such resolution has been on the part of the other councillors. Mayor Al's actions disprove his words of November 7th, 2014, and his failure to act has not been damage neutral. This ongoing issue has caused additional cost to the town, and chronic communication deficits on the part of the mayor continue to create hardship for our town administration. I've become increasingly disillusioned by what has become Mayor Al's seemingly endless cycle of stated intentions to act and his actions, which actively deny any responsibility. Without further action, the citizens of Strathmore will continue to pay the price for Mayor Al's breaches. Failure to work in cooperation with administration and council does a great disservice to our community. So that further liability is not incurred, I believe it is in the best interest of our community to request an independent inquiry, as is noted in the motion. And I do believe that in requesting that independent inquiry, that we will all come under scrutiny. And for that reason, I fully support this motion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Next item on our agenda is Civic Center request, Strathmore race.
Good evening. The town has received a request from the Strathmore Organizing Committee asking for a respectful donation of the Civic Center and Cottage Residential for their event on June 20th, 2015. This is an annual event, and the total amount of the booking is $326.70 for the Civic Center and $612.38 for the Aquatic Center before taxes. This donation request meets the criteria under the policy. The town would be recognized as a Gold Level sponsor, with our logo being put on all participants' t-shirts and signage at registration, as well as on all the turnaround signage throughout the race. Approximately half of the participants for this race come from outside of the town of Strathmore County of Land, so these people in from the parts of the province. Administration is recommending that.
Councillor Sobel?
Just a comment, Your Worship, having been a volunteer at the last year's Strathmore race, I just want to reiterate that this is no small event. It's pretty very professionally run and with lots of people, and it certainly looks good on our town to be involved in this, and I have absolutely no problem with this request.
Councillor Fuel?
Just a couple of things, Your Worship. One is, I wanted to thank Tracy for bringing this forward. And I just wanted to ask, is this the same type of sponsorship that we've done in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
Sponsoring events is year-long.
And I thank you very much. And I echo Councillor Sobel's comments. I've been involved in it. I've been lucky enough to been asked to announce at it. And to see the number of people involved who come to the town from all ages is absolutely amazing to see. So it's another great event that comes to Strathmore. So I would like to move that council approve the donation of the Civic Center and Aquatic Center for the 2015 Strathmore event, not to exceed $939.18.
Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Lopeland?
Thank you, Your Worship. Do we still have money left in the donation bank?
Yes, we do. So this will fall out of the community development budget, which we have a separate budget.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No further? Oh, Councillor Sobel?
Just to clarify, this is lost income, is it not?
Correct. So this is the amount of money we received if we charge them.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can come out of there.
Thank you.
No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item on our agenda. Okay, let me say it first. Next item on our agenda is Strathmore District Agricultural Society. And Councillor Walls, you are being excused because of the conflict of interest as president of the society.
Excuse me.
Yes. Thank you. Show Councillor Walls has left, please.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Good evening, how are you?
A little background information. The Strathmore District Agricultural Society is requesting council to waive the development and the building permit fee for the construction of a new pavilion at the grounds. This pavilion, it is my understanding, is a community building. During Heritage Days and other events at the grounds will house their administration and admissions, and also can be a multi-purpose building for community events, livestock shows, in addition to other events at the grounds. We did receive a letter, an email from Mr. McLean, who is the general manager of the Ag Society, requesting the waiver of the development and the building permit fees. He does state in the letter that they are a nonprofit organization. This building is going to be built on public service land, and under section 416 of the land use bylaw, accessory buildings are permitted use. There is a small fee of $58.50 that has to be collected and paid to the Safety Codes Council. We're asking that council direct planning and development to waive the payment of all the applicable fees, or that council direct planning and development to require the Strathmore District Agricultural Society to pay the fees in full or an amount as determined by council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions? Councillor Graychuk?
I'm not in favor of this simply because, number one, they do rent that, they will be renting that building out, so there's income for them. And secondly, when we built, and I was GM at the time of the Ag Society, we had to pay for a development permit. We built a new washroom, so this shouldn't be any different.
Councillor Sobel?
Well, thank you. And further to that, I got to stop hitting that thing. But I guess my question is, do we routinely pardon the use of these fees because it's a nonprofit, or because of the use that is there a differentiation between just being a nonprofit and the use of the nonprofit building?
It's my understanding that a nonprofit organization can request council to waive the fees.
through planning and development.
With,
The use, as
Mhm.
declared by Mr. McLean, is for the citizenry.
citizenry.
Yes, thank you, of the community. So Councilman Graychuck is correct in saying that, yes, this building once built would probably generate revenue for them. That is not something planning and development would consider when making a planning decision.
Right. But it's certainly something that would bother me, and actually that's the line I have underlined here is the use, the purpose for it is for, to quote the document, is for other related society uses and events. And I guess I wish there was more information in regards to that. So that's one thing that I would be looking for is exactly what this use will be for.
Councillor Peterson.
One thing that I would see as being really beneficial in that, and at which point I would have no problem waiving the permit, would be if we could come to a shared use under Tracy's purview. The arena and other civic buildings get significant amount of use where they may otherwise be allowed to be rented. And if we could utilize the Ag Society buildings under this new policy that's being developed and in kind, and in fact, then we would stand to perhaps gain more, especially if we could do it every year to a certain amount. I'd like to put that proposal to General Manager McLean as a viable alternative.
Councillor Graychuck.
I think time is of the essence here. If we don't make a decision, I believe that can we hold off on the money decision and still allow them to get going because they need to get this done before a certain deadline?
It is my understanding that there is a deadline to get the building constructed, given events planned for June, July, and August of this year. The development permit has been approved. The building permit was reviewed and approved by the Safety Codes officer, so they are in a position to begin construction.
Without this matter being resolved?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we, and I can't recall, do we not give them the arena? And I'm sorry, I'd have to ask administration during Heritage Days already?
I would have to direct that to Deputy CA or just Tracy.
We have a shared user agreement with the Ag Society. They get the facility for, I want to say, meeting space every 2 months, so 6 meetings throughout the year at no charge, as well as the Civic Center and Arena at no charge for the full weekend of Heritage Day.
So.
And also, they get the office for free, right, where they are?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they don't pay rent, they pay all their own utilities.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, we're already doing quite a bit for them. And like I say, we had to pay for the development permit for the washroom.
Councillor Peterson.
If we approve waiving the development permit, but asked for the same amount on a year basis of using in kind, of using that building for things like the Strathmore Regional Arts, theater players, the people who generally come to us for free work, I think that would be a really beneficial. I'd like to see Tracy work that out.
I'm going to bring that up because I was talking to a board member about that just a couple days ago. There will be meeting space in the building, like a meeting room and community room that they are looking to rent out. I don't know what rates at which they'd be doing that, but I think it might be something the town can negotiate, that X amount of hours or dollars are put towards community nonprofits or partnerships.
Then, Your Worship, I would agree with that, so long as the building can continue because of the deadlines. But if you could come back, if Tracy could come back with some sort of recommendation.
We can work with the GM at the Society and bring that back to the next council.
I'd be happy with that.
Councillor Field.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question then would be, would the motion then have to indicate that we would like to have the same amount of the fees for the building permit be given in kind?
No, let's just leave it
Just adjourn it.
open.
Okay.
Just adjourn it to the next.
I thought time was of the essence.
Well, no, they're gonna get the building.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So someone make a motion to adjourn until,
Your worship, I'd move that this matter be adjourned to June the 17th, next council meeting.
Is that enough time?
Tracy works fast.
Do you,
We'd be able to bring at least a draft of a plan forward to council. We may not have an agreement at that time, but we can bring the plan forward.
would July 2nd be more appropriate, Tracy?
I'm gonna say no,
Okay.
just because July is gonna be busy.
Yeah.
We would either want to get it done before July, or we'd have to wait till after, knowing how busy they are and we're.
June 17th is.
If I may just, your worship, does it really matter as long as we get it done? Let's get it done thoroughly and give them lots of time. What does it matter on the timing? You know, why don't you take all summer and get it done to us this fall?
As long as that's okay, that the fees will be deferred.
Did they just, yeah, deferred?
and in the motion,
Is
just say, just in the motion, you bring it back such and such a date and defer the fees until that time.
Right on. And that's no issue, deferring the fees.
It's no issue.
So we'll go with, let's go, so I'd amend my motion to say the first council meeting in September. And that the fees, development fees be suspended until, or
That's what you mean.
What's the word?
Deferred.
deferred until that council meeting.
Are you happy with the motion? Yes, okay, good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And I think we can invite Councillor Walls back.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Thanks, Bidian.
You're allowed back in.
And if you'd be so good as to show Councillor Walls has returned. And our next item on the agenda is 8.3 Thomas Drive. And, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. This is a request for decision on Thomas Drive Toplet, brought to you by the engineering department. Gord, of course, is away today, so he asked me to present in his absence. So, some background, the completion of the 2013 Thomas Drive project is scheduled for this year. It's been 2 years since we finished the facelift, of course. And now it is time to revisit and complete any warranty issues, and then finish the project with a top lift. We have received pricing from the contractor North Star Contracting for the completion of the top lift as per the contract. We have compared the price with work we have already underway on Lakeside and 4th Avenue, and the costs are in line with an increase of less than 10% from the 2013 quoted price. The estimated project cost is also within our existing budget of $390,000. We would also have the option, if there is a desire, to change the contractors to utilize the Lakeside 4th Avenue project contractor, but a small increase to the budget would be requested to manage the scope of work of 2 separate contracts in this option. For alternatives, we are recommending completing the top lift installation with the same contractor that constructed the original project to eliminate any concerns or conflicts between another contractor working after the warranty repairs are done. As well, additional scope for the Brent Boulevard right turn lane completion would require an additional scope change budget increase of approximately $20,000. We want to do this at the same time. The Brent Boulevard right turn is beside the Crystal Bridge shopping mall, the strip mall there. We increased the distance on that turn lane, increase the width. We'd like to continue that lane all the way to the first entrance into that shopping district. Our recommendation, approval, we're recommending a request for the project budget of $410,000 to complete the entire project with North Star Contracting, with additional scope change for the Brent Boulevard turn lane completion. The contractor is prepared to complete the work before August 1st, with notification of award by June 8th.
Councilor Sobel?
So I guess I have two questions. One, do you think North Star is aware of the fact that we weren't overly pleased with the first kick of the cat here? Are they? I guess I think I phrased that wrong. Do you feel that they're anxious to show us what they can do?
Yes. North Star,
I think both of those sounded bad.
North Star Contracting is well aware of our issues and concerns over the original project and the base lift and condition that it was left in over the 2-year period. They were also aware that we had a separate engineering company come in to do an inspection of their work as a third party to also give us their recommendations after that. And they have reiterated numerous times that they are fully confident that when the end of this project is completed, the town will be fully satisfied with the complete result.
That's good to hear. The second part of my question is not that I don't trust them or believe them, but how close can we monitor this, and how? And when I'm saying monitor, I'm wondering if there's any way of physically testing the quality of their work before they finish the job. Like if there's problems, I like us to get at them as early as possible, given the history.
Yes. S&C Lavalin, the engineering group that's project managing the project, will have their roads people on site, as well as third-party testers on site to take samples during the placement of any warranty items or any construction of the top lift.
Wonderful.
Those test results won't, a lot of test results won't be immediate, of course, but they will be followed, and we can work on them, work on any discretions afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you, Deputy Mayor Blofeld? Yeah, you go, because I don't know who was first.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So once the stop lift is done this summer, that's it? The warranty's all done and everything's finished?
Correct.
So I use Thomas Drive on a daily basis. I don't know how many times a day, 7 days a week. I really hope I don't see the same potholes in the same places on the same spots on Thomas Drive next spring. And if we do, then what?
Then we have to refer back to our testing to prove that they did not meet the requirements of road building and design.
So
To go back in.
So we have a little bit of recourse then, if this, hopefully this doesn't happen?
Yeah, we would have recourse if they do not meet the requirements laid out by the building design.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Graychuk?
How much was the holdback originally?
Original holdback, I believe, was about 260,000 for the first part of the contract. It did not, that was not part of the top lift. The top lift was left out of that as a separate line item until the 2-year period was up.
So when we budgeted what was it, 3.7 or?
I believe the total was 3.5.
3.5. This money, what you're asking for is over and above that?
No, it was part of the original quote.
Okay.
But because of the 2-year delay for warranty work and to observe the project, there is a line in the contract that allows them to renegotiate their quoted price from 2 years ago to help meet with any market fluctuations and changes.
Thank you. Okay, on the right turn lane off of Brent to Thomas, where does the $20,000 come in? And it just seemed to me is there utilities to move or something?
No, it's just a requirement to remove the median that is in place, basically the dirt for the grass and the trees there. Remove that down to a base level, and then again replace and put in a subgrade base asphalt and top lift to match with the rest of the design of Thomas Drive replacement.
And who gave us that quote?
That was not a quote, that was an estimate done by the town. I believe Gord wrote this up, so he asked me for some quick numbers off the top of my head.
I'm just the reason I'm saying that is that when we did right turn lane here just on the north of Westmount School, it was 10 grand or something like that.
Yeah, this was a quick estimate in
Oh, okay. I'm not, can I?
No, I'm not doing anything. Put my hand up, that's all.
The quality of material really bothers me. I mean, everybody in the community knows, I mean, there's something wrong with that. I mean, and I'll give an example, and I reiterate this. On Brent Drive, the second lift has never been put in places, and it's last 20 years now. And it's got nowhere near the problems, not even close to the problems that this one has. Is there, when you say it met the requirements, the material requirements in the contract, is there levels of material requirements that, and maybe if, you know, and I'll give an example. If there's levels 1 to 10, and 10 being the best, and you only ask for 1, well, sure, it'll meet the requirements. You know, can you explain this all to me?
Well, I think the main concern that everybody sees is the base lift asphalt on the top, so everybody sees that. So material testing for asphalt, you have a gradation and a percentage of oil and voids allowed in there for, anyways, there is a range that they have to meet, their guidelines. So whether they're at the top of the range or the bottom of the range, not saying that either one is better or worse. They just have to be within that range in order for it to be accepted.
Is this standard right in like?
This is standard. Asphalts and gravels are all graded that way with sieve analysis and sizes, and that's how they grade the asphalt.
And one final comment was, I was told that we rushed them, and the reason, and it was very rainy when they were putting in the base, and that why the compaction wasn't that good. Therefore, the pavement was lifting.
That is not that we rushed them, but there was definitely water issues on the south end and middle of Thomas. So I guess it was divided into 2 courses, Project A and Project B. Project A was more the south end. There was water issues and rain issues, and it delayed the project. I don't know if anybody remembers, but past the point of completion, we actually extended the project. They had to come back in and do what they call undercut in some places where they removed the very wet material, and they actually replaced it with asphalt, which is not preferable because it's expensive. But at that time, they were trying to satisfy the needs of the town and get that project done. Asphalt will hold up better than gravel, but it's expensive. That's why contractors don't want to do it. So we did know that there were issues in there, and that was part of the reason that the engineers recommended a 2-year wait before doing a top lift to see the settling, to see what would happen with the base lift and where it would settle. And if there was any catastrophic failures, then we'd have to go and dig right down back into the sub base and repair that.
And your worship, 2 very final comments, if I may.
Sure.
It sounds like Councilor Peterson.
Nobody sounds like Councilor Peterson.
When you're done, when this lift is in, or the second lift is done, I mean, it's quite wavy down. There's retention of water along there. Will this all be satisfied?
Correct. There'll be a process of replacing all warranty work. So that'll be digging out those segregated areas where you see all the potholes and such. Those will be dug out and replaced. Then there'll be a level course as before the top lift. The level course will bring up those wavy points so that you have a level base of asphalt to place the top lift on.
And finally, I do have the grave concern that Councilor Blokeland has, and many citizens is, once this is done, we have no comeback. I find this very hard to believe. I mean, you know, it could be potholes again. What we got no comeback?
Really, the only comeback we have is if we have proof of faulty workmanship or faulty materials.
And they don't have to put up a bond.
The bond would be met if they can prove that they completed the works according to the design.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Councilor Walls.
Hey, Your Worship, just a quick question. It says here done by August 1st. That's one of our busiest, as you know, the town triples in size starting at that beginning of that week. Any chances on getting that done before that week actually happens?
I don't know if we want to rush them.
I don't want to rush them either, but then my suggestion would be let's hold off and let's start this project on August August the 4th or August the 5th.
Originally, when discussing the project with North Star and discussing receiving the new quote for this year, they actually wanted to try and finish the project by the end of May. We held off because there were some details that we had to get completed before we could present to council and get the proper pricing. Now that they're completed, they want to actually start as soon as possible. I believe that date is put in there to make, to show that we were aware that August 1st is, of course, that long weekend is one of our priorities, to have construction completion or at least out of our way, so that we don't interfere with any events going on at that time.
Councillor Fuel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a question just following Councillor Graychuk's comments. Are there ever, in your experience, have there been ever situations where we as a town have brought in another contractor to do the final top project or the top fill? I know you're concerned about the warranty work, but have we ever done that where we've brought someone in and they've done the top lift, or they found that there were real discrepancies?
I have never been a part of a project like that.
So it's typically not done.
Typically not done.
Okay.
To maintain that you can go back and, like I said, if they don't meet requirements, that you can address it all to the same contractor.
Okay. And then my second question is a typical one I ask about the money, and that is, where would that extra 20,000 come from? Stabilization.
Yeah.
Financial stabilization.
Thank you.
No further questions? I'll entertain a motion, please.
Okay, I'm thinking what this is here. Your Worship, I would move that council approve the project budget of $410,000 to complete the entire project of Thomas Drive with North Star Trucking, with the additional scope change for the Brent Boulevard turn lane completion. Monies to come from financial stabilization.
You have a motion?
Should there be an end date on it?
Absolutely.
Do you want the end date on there?
Absolutely.
Sure.
With an end date of no later than August 1st, 2015.
No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next item is our committee reports.
Your Worship, I'll be giving all my committee reports in the subsequent meeting.
Okay, sure. That's fine. Councillor Sobel? Can I
Sure,
start
Your
with
Worship,
please?
thank you. I would first deal with the Strathmore, Alberta 55+ Summer Games. 2 directors' meetings were held in May on the 11th and 25th. A main focus of these meetings was to ensure all directors were cognizant of what other groups were doing during the games. I should emphasize that the coordination of the 17 game subcommittees, which includes administration, accommodation, activities, culture, facilities, food, friends of the game, promotions, protocol, registration and results, security, medical, transportation, volunteers, seniors liaison, Funapalooza, and sustainability is no easy task. But the preparation and general attitude of the directors, chairs, and volunteers suggests this will not be an issue. In other news, the Games hosted a very successful golf tournament on May 30th, and I was happy to see Councillor Rocky and our Deputy CAO burning up the links. There were in total in excess of 120 golfers present to support this fundraiser. A reminder that the Beatles are coming and will be at the Family Center Gold Arena on June 20th. Our very own Kirsten Johnson will be the opening act for the band known as Britain's Finest. This band, who are based in Hollywood, California, regularly play in Las Vegas and other fine venues throughout the United States. They are a band that everyone, not just Beatle fans, will enjoy, and everyone's encouraged to get some tickets to this great fundraiser, which is supporting our summer games. In regards to the Downtown Design Review Committee, this committee met on May 19th and held further discussions in regards to hosting an open house on June 16th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. That open house will focus on a possible solution to the traffic issues on 2nd Avenue. Members of the committee have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, which will be shown during the public open house on two separate occasions during that meeting. Members of the DDRC will be present to answer questions and discuss not only our proposed solution, but ideas and concerns by anyone attending. If you're interested in what the future holds for our downtown area, please make plans to attend this information session. And lastly, in regards to Strathmore Wheatland Addictions Team, there was no general meeting of SWAT in May. However, we did meet today, earlier this afternoon, and the highlight of our meeting was the completion of a project which was focused on creating a video which dealt with addictions. With the council's permission, I would really like to show you the video that was prepared for this. This is a video that's been prepared by the students at Strathmore High School in regards to addictions. And I'm really proud of this, and I'm really excited about this project. And it's being shown in public for the first time. It is now presently on SWAT and on YouTube rather, and on some Facebook sites. But if council would indulge me, I'd like to show you the YouTube that was prepared. That's the end of my report, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Good job.
We're very well put together.
Thanks, Jim.
Is it appropriate for us to send them some sort of a congratulatory letter or?
I think that would be a great idea.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you. Deputy Mayor Blokeland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Attended a handy bus meeting on May 25th. Reviewed the financial statements, which are continuing to look strong. An overview on the operating report. We're starting to see some problems develop. Client trips are taking longer than they are being booked. We're doubling up more clients to minimize operating costs. We have looked at the operating hours for 23 handy bus service providers in the province, and we're the only one going 7/24. We're experiencing higher levels of overtime and shortage of drivers. Recruitment initiatives have been started for part-time staff, drivers. Wheatland County grant application of $10,000 has been approved. Attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting. Your Worship, I couldn't remember the right date. Was that May 20th we were there?
I'm sorry, I'd have to check my calendar.
I think it
don't
was.
remember.
Happy to report the new rebuilt board with the Chamber of Commerce with enthusiastic and vigorous members. Expect to see more and hear more from the Chamber in the coming year. Starting with a lunch presentation Tuesday, June 9th at the Strathmore Legion with Todd Hirsch. He's Alberta's ATB economist. He will be discussing Alberta's economy 2015. This should be a good presentation. Everybody's invited. There's a charge at the door. Board is also being very active in building up and recruiting new memberships. And we didn't have no Wademza meeting. That's it for my report.
Thank you. Councillor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. I didn't realize that I was supposed to bring I left my reports at home, but they'll be very short anyway, and that is the recreational club is redoing their bylaws with another nonprofit group. So that's ongoing, and hope to have them done within the next month. And that's all that's happened there. As far as the Wheatland housing, 90% of the last meeting was in camera due to an employment issue. And secondly, the rest was housekeeping. Thirdly, Shirley Reinhardt is retiring as of August 1st, I believe, of this year. And there is a barbecue, and I don't have the dates, Your Worship. I'll publish that later. Maybe Brad has those dates. Councilor Brad. But anyway, that's about what's happening there. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Peel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have 3 reports. They're very brief, too. First of all, I apologize. I missed the downtown development meeting. I totally got the wrong date, and I was elsewhere, so I apologize for my absence from that. The SAY group changed their meeting date to June 27th, where they scheduled a work bee on the disc golf course through the park system. Unfortunately, I had a high school staff meeting at the same time, so I could not do any shoveling or pouring of cement. The youth club board had its meeting last night. I think the most important thing that came out, and what stopped me from sending any report, is that I regret to inform everyone that we had to postpone the Friday Night Laughs from this Friday to a later date because we had problems arranging and getting a liquor license. So I will be sending more information and more minutes out in the next little while, but that is the biggest and most frustrating thing. It's one of our 2 main fundraisers in a typical year, and we've had to reschedule now because of problems getting the liquor license. Our ticket sales were also way down, so it may be a blessing in disguise as we may be able to sell more tickets at a date that's not too far off. So we'll be meeting again very soon to schedule that. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Worship, could I ask Councillor Fuel a question on this committee report in regards to say they might understand now, if I understand correctly, that the disc golf is just about, if not ready to play.
Yeah, it's just about ready to go. In fact, from what I had heard, there were 15 holes done with just 3 more to do. I'm pretty sure that they'll be done this week. And there is going to be a July 1st disc golf tournament being set up. We appreciate and we expect that there will be some growing pains with this, but I think Mayor L has said this before, the youth in this group are really amazing, and the work that they put through and the enthusiasm to get this disc golf course put in through some of the green space and park areas is phenomenal. There may be some problems with discs that might go into somebody's backyard now and then, but they've tried to set up the hole so that that will not be a major factor for the most part. And I think it's one more example of things that can be done in this town by youth and by people of all ages that will not require any money at all other than getting a Frisbee. So I applaud Ms. McDonald and Ms. Rizek from Strathmore High and the students of Holy Cross Collegiate and Strathmore High School who've worked so hard to make this come true.
I'm just absolutely amazed at this project and where they are and how hard they've worked for it. Am I also correct in that July 1st date that you're talking about, that's also basically people can learn how to play at
Yes,
that time, and that there'd be some free
Yep.
Frisbees, disc golf.
Yeah, you're
Frisbees
absolutely
available.
correct, Councillor Sobel. There will be, supposedly there will be some people there to help teach people how to play disc golf and how to do the different types of throws. There'll be different discs available, as there are discs that you use when you do a drive and when you do a shorter shot and when you putt into the basket. So it's just another way that people can go out for a nice walk and have a cheap event. You can do it as a family, grandparents, grandchildren, all different generations can go out together. You can stop at the 9-hole mark. You can do the full 18, and it's a nice leisurely walk where you throw a disc. I think it's going to be great.
Amazing.
Is the, your worship, to that, Councillor Sol? Fuel. Anyway, sorry. Is the course set up on the town,
Webpage?
webpage?
Oh. Is it set up?
Is it? Or?
That I'm not sure of. I've seen the map. It starts at Brentwood School near the Ball Diamond at Brentwood School, and then it works through the park in the Cambridge area, but what has typically been called Dinosaur Hill Park. It works through there, and it concludes near the Birth Forest in the Maplewood area. So it's an 18-hole course that is not overly long, but nice and leisurely.
Would it be unfair to ask it be set up on the webpage?
I think it's a great idea.
Yes, we can do that, absolutely.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Wall?
Oh. Jumping around, your worship, thank you. There was no financial audit committee meeting, and unfortunately I was tied up at another meeting and missed the Wheeland Housing Board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Calgary Regional Partnership Board of Directors, I attended the meeting on May 22nd. Fourth quarter budget report was reviewed. Year-end, March 31st, 2015 financial statements were presented by the auditor and approved, and auditors for the next year's were approved. Discussion on CRP Director's Handbook and Executive Committee Guidelines were discussed. Redwood Meadows request for membership in the CRP was approved. And a letter of support for the town of Nanton's need for wastewater infrastructure was approved and will be going to the Government of Alberta. Updates from the chairs of the steering committees, Economic Prosperity, CMP, Implementation, Regional Transportation, and the Executive Director were presented. Board of Directors Code of Conduct was approved. The Board of Directors nomination and election process was discussed. The board met during lunch to debrief from the March 16th board and CAO workshop, and the board will also send to all council requests for input in regards to, and I forget exactly what it was, but I sent it out the other day to all of the to all of council. And on May the 14th, the Economic Prosperity Steering Committee met. Robin Buse presented a session on work shift, which is the new term for teleworking. It's a new way of considering the term telecommuting. Benefit to this type of change in thinking is Strathmore residents would travel less times per week, basically per month, to their work in Calgary, if that's where they work. And the benefit to our business community would there would be more ability to shop locally. And the other note is 1/2 to 1/3 of the jobs in the next 50 years are not in existence at present. And growth for the Calgary region is projected at a 2.5% rate, and this is considered to be a conservative estimate. And CRP is continuing in the process of inbound marketing, and CRP is looking at publishing an ebook on activities past and present for the partnership. CRP General Assembly is June 23rd. Council administration is invited. And Stephanie Jackman, president of REAP, Calgary, gave a presentation on local business fueling prosperity. And Community Futures Wild Rose met May 7th. The financial statements were submitted and approved. The board was advised of an expected increase in legal costs for representation to protect a non-performing loan. McBride, Bow Valley College, Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce, and Community Future Wild Rose are collaborating on a Canada-Alberta job grant presentation. The general manager reported on some serious computer disruptions, and chances are they're likely going to have to do some major investment there. Initiatives in the Community Future staff where they're assisting with the Western District Historical Society, Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce, Innovation and Technology, and Farm Days. Ducks Unlimited is exploring the use of some office space available through Community Futures Wild Rose. And the general manager is assisting the Drumheller Office of Community Futures due to a staffing issue there. And those are my reports. And administration. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Good. Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just give you a quick update on our building permit status. So to date, we have issued 96 residential permits, with 38 of those for residential, 8 commercial building permits, 3 industrial, and 3 institutional. Our permit values are currently at $11,763,477. And out of the residential permits, 24 were for single-family dwellings.
And that's all?
That's all. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Your worship, just before a motion is made, just to comment that that map is on our website.
Oh, thank you.
Your worship, I'm sorry, you want to
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Your worship, I'd move the council accept the reports as information.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Carried. And there's correspondence, and Councillor Sobel, I will.
Thank you, Your worship.
Questions between councillors and
Oh,
administration.
sorry.
Was there any questions between council and administration?
Yes, your worship, to our deputy CEO, can you give us a bit of an update as to how they're making out with Lakeside and what their projected end date is with that? Coincidentally,
Can I
sitting
ask
here, that's why I asked.
Bryce to answer that question?
Certainly, Lakeside is continuing fine. Of course, we had a rain today, but projected by the contractor, he's enthusiastic that he can finish by Q4.
And
Weather dependent.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say that they seem to be doing a very good job. They seem to be working some long hours, and they seem like they're really getting the job done. So, I'm very impressed with their line of work. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, no other discussion? Okay, good. Now, please, Councillor Sobel.
Thanks. Your worship and council, I received a copy of a letter that was dated May 20th from Janet Davidson, OC, Deputy Minister for the Government of Alberta. And I think I'd like to read that. It says, "Dear," it's written to our CAO. So it says, "Dear Mr. Stanford, I'm in receipt of the letter of April 20th, 2015 from His Worship Michael L., Mayor, Town of Strathmore, regarding future plans for the Strathmore District Health Services. The Strathmore Hospital has one of the busiest emergency rooms in rural Alberta. Alberta Health recently provided Alberta Health Services, AHS, capital funding to complete a master planning study for the future development of this facility. The master plan will develop options required for the future capital development plan, including possible renovations and expansion of existing space. Once the study is completed, further decisions can be made to address your concerns. The Wheatland Regional Partnership will be consulted during the development of this master plan. Sincerely, Janet Davison, CC to Barry Day, Deputy Minister of Alberta Infrastructure, and Vicky Kaminsky, President Chief Executive Officer of AHS. So just to comment on this, you know, I've been dealing with this issue for more years than I wish to, and others have been dealing with this issue many more than that. And we are, how would I say this? We're finally at the stage where we're having another study. And I'm just absolutely amazed that we're at that stage at this point, that we have to have another study. We've been studied to death on this thing, and I'm just so tired and fed up of being told that they have to have a study. I'm discouraged, and I'm very, very disappointed in this letter. I would have preferred she had just ignored us rather than send us a letter of that type. I bring this up for a specific reason. I'd like to raise this issue with our MLA. Unfortunately, I don't know how to get a hold of him. I've tried, and I'm having difficulty reaching him. So I would wonder if administration can perhaps set up a meeting with our MLA to perhaps attend a council meeting sometime in the near future where this letter can be discussed with. I'd really like to see this issue raised in the legislature, because this, as far as I'm concerned, is a slap in the face to the residents of our community.
Administration, I do believe you have contact information now for our new MLA.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can definitely do that.
And the new, if I may, Your Worship,
Yes, please.
and the new Minister of Health, right? We were just sworn here recently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a brand new process again? Is that what's going to happen, or?
Who knows?
Yes.
Councillor Silva, in response, I share the frustration and haven't had as many years of dealing with it as the rest of council has, but I find it appalling that, you know, from the phony checks that have been held up to the grandstanding that has happened, and we seem to fall further into deficit rather than to have any kind of acknowledgement of the overuse of this facility. One of the things I do see on the part of our medical personnel and our service delivery staff in town is this do-it-yourself mentality that is really serving us well, and I commend them. We're getting 2 new doctors within the next couple months, and that's due to really good recruitment on the part of our community health personnel, and I really appreciate that, and it speaks to what Councillor Field said earlier about what you can do for yourself within your community when people cooperate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Good, thank you. Councillor Walls.
Your Worship, yeah, the Ag Society, we've been pretty busy up here. On Friday, June 12th, we'll be having our first ever golf tournament. Hope to see as many people there as possible. We have one of our hole-in-one well, actually, we have 2 hole-in-one prizes. One's a gator donated by Service, and you also have a trip to Mexico. So for all you avid golfers, come on down there. Teams 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you're not a team of 4, we'll put you in a team. It's one of the best networking events of the year. We just got done finalizing with a group called West Coast Amusements. We've been working really diligently with this group to get them to come in and set up some type of carnival or midway before the rodeo, because obviously with timing and so forth, we're unable to actually bring it in for the actual rodeo. So we just got to finalize. It's June 10th, 11th, and 12th. They are selling some wristbands, so if you want to stop by and pick them up, you can go to the westcoastamusements.com and pick them up there. And it goes at the Ag Grounds from 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So
Next week.
Next week, busy week for the Ag Society next week.
Where is your tournament?
Tournament is at the Strathmore Golf Course. Tickets are $125, includes a cart and 18 holes cart, supper, steak, sandwich. Also a bunch of different prizes they've got, so really good prizes. See you there.
Nothing further? I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
We have motion to adjourn. All in favor? Carried. And thank you.